Hi, this is Howie in the UK. This is my response to Berlinski's posting of a video that supposedly refutes all of Darwin in just 5 minutes. And he does this, quote unquote, based on mathematics. Well, let's just see about that. This is Berlinski. This is a man who should know better, certainly from his qualifications. He's got a degree or two in mathematics, and he's written some books in calculus. His employer at the moment is the Discovery Institute, which is the think tank that basically is fully funded specifically to attack Darwinism and is backed by fundamentalist Christian churches. So it's not entirely surprising that Berlinski carries on this line of attacking Darwin. And he does it from a mathematical basis, or what he considers a mathematical basis. Let's hear some of that mathematical criticism that he goes on about, and also listen to his references to not only the mathematics, but to famous mathematician that he says backs him up.
But lots and lots of people are skeptical in the scientific community. I know dozens of mathematicians who scratch their head and say, you guys think this is the way life originated? It's absolutely a preposterous theory. And many, many very significant figures. John von Neumann, one of the great mathematicians of the 20th century, just laughed at Darwinian theory. He hooted at it.
This is John von Neumann, indeed one of the greatest mathematicians of all time, and a great polymath. The computer that you're working on is a von Neumann computer architecture, one defined by him. Von Neumann indeed did work on what it would take to have evolving life forms and evolving complexity. These were called self-replicating automata. And he was never attacking the ideas of Darwinism. He proved, in actuality, mathematically, that these Darwinian ideas worked. He showed that the way an automata could reproduce and evolve was to have two parts. First, a replicating machine, and secondly, a program that controlled replication. This was the only way that this process could take place, and something could replicate itself. As a matter of fact, this was about 20 years before the discovery of DNA, and DNA uses exactly that mechanism for the reproduction of itself and for the phenotype that contains it. So what Berlinski says about von Neumann is totally misleading, totally wrong. What von Neumann showed is Darwinian evolution. What he showed was that complexity can get greater and greater based on self-replicating automata. Evolution requires gradual steps. It's not a sudden, all-at-once transformation. It takes the long periods of time that we actually see in the geological proofs of evolution. All that evolution needs is four basic things: replication, competition amongst the replicating entities, variation, which we see in nature, and heredity, that like begets like. With those simple principles, the evolution of species and the evolution of greater and greater complexity, as proven by von Neumann, takes place. And this leads to the life forms that are most adapted to the environment in which they live. It leads to increased complexity through the selection pressure of environments and competition from other individuals and other creatures in the same biospace. Do mathematicians really doubt Darwin, as Berlinski pretends they do? Well, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, a whole major area of mathematics is based on Darwinian principles. These are known as genetic algorithms, and it's a well-known and well-established and highly studied branch of mathematics. It uses all of the mechanisms of evolution to model possible solutions in very complex systems. And by using these principles of Darwinian selection, we can take the parameters of a particular mathematical problem and hone in on the most effective way in which a solution can be reached. And this is done in very many engineering systems where the solution, say, of the way a structure of a bridge should be composed or the wing of an airplane, uses Darwinian evolution in many, many mathematical solutions that are competing against one another, breeding with one another, and where the best attributes of them, in a pure Darwinian sense, are evolving to provide an optimal solution or a peak solution under the circumstances of making the system work. It's survival of the fittest amongst mathematical solutions to complex problems, and again totally proves that this Darwinian principle works mathematically. Now, Berlinski should know this if he's a mathematician, but he totally ignores it. He ignores it, and he deceives the audience that he talks to. Now I'm going to show you some examples of genetic algorithms at work, just to give you a feel and a flavor of what all this mathematics is about. The first example shows the evolution of a lens, and in a way we can kind of think of this as the way perhaps the lens of the eye evolved, essentially from a random set of points that diffuse light into another area, but with a criteria that it's more efficient if we can actually focus in on what we're seeing. And with this as a criteria, using genetic algorithms, we see the evolution of a lens. The second example of genetic algorithms at work is done in a simulation of a flying creature, a creature that just begins to be able to survive in a more effective way by leaving the ground. And then the only criteria for survival is the improved flight that such a creature might have. And over a period of time, we can see generation after generation the evolution of effective flying, the evolution of complexity. Again, a pure illustration that mathematically, using genetics, using genetic Darwinian algorithms, that things do evolve, that things do become more complex, more sophisticated, and more efficient at dealing with solving the issues of their environment. But it's not just mathematical proof that is available to Berlinski. There's the actual physical proof that exists in findings that we've had. And he spent a lot of time talking about whales. As a matter of fact, he's put up a bit of a straw man to try to sort of convince people that how difficult it is mathematically for there to be an evolution from what he thinks would be a good example, a cow evolving into a whale. Well, the reality is it wasn't a cow. That's an example that tries to play on any incredulity that a person might have. The ancestor of the whale and the physical evidence that backs that was a mammalian carnivore that fed on fish about 60 million years ago, a beast called Pakicetus. And we have evidence of the physical and the behavioral characteristics of Pakicetus, as well as all of the transitional intermediaries between Pakicetus and modern whales. There's evidence in fossil form. There's evidence in anatomical features in the family. There's evidence in the DNA of whales, in the limb structure of the whales. So with all this evidence, why is it that qualified people like Berlinski deliberately go to the public and try to deceive them about science, to deceive them about evolution? I think that that's the real puzzle that comes out of the particular 5-minute presentation, and that's a question that only Berlinski himself can answer.